guys, and welcome to another Raptor video. This video marks over 1 year with my 2014 Gen 1 Raptor. If you guys haven't followed the channel, I actually bought this a little over a year ago with 110,000 miles. We're at about 116 or 118, I'll have to check, 1,000 miles. And so far I love it. We're gonna view a little bit of updates here in the garage, and then I'll take it on the road and finish the 1 year update. So that's right, over 100,000 miles, bought this thing in Florida, and it was really well maintained by the dealer and the owner, one owner, so that was a really nice plus, not off-roaded, so that also helps with the wear of items and things like that. So I did an oil change, I did filter, I did spark plugs, I did fuse 27, and all those things. I did a shorty antenna, a couple other small things. I've spent less than 400 bucks over the course of a year kind of getting this thing maintenance-wise set up. You know, I haven't replaced tires or anything, so once you do something like that, it's more expensive. But the consensus is there's a reason that these things drive for over 200,000 miles. V8, reliable, and pretty self-explanatory. There's not as much going on technology-wise, you know, which is a downside for if you want something more modern, feeling and driving and stuff. But for this, reliability definitely helps for keeping this thing running. No hiccups, no engine lights, nothing like that. I do get a tire pressure light from time to time, but I feel like that's just the change of the season. So other than that, really no complaints. Of the marker lights, the reason you need them is because it's wider than 80 inches, which means this thing is about 7 inches wider than a normal F-150. So commercially you have to have these extra lights, which is cool, it looks cool, good job Ford. But that means it's hard to park and hard to stay in the lane on the highway. Not hard, but the forgiveness level is much less when you're 7 inches wider overall versus the normal F-150, which is already pretty big. So keep that in mind when you own one of these trucks. It's not easy to park. I know you can say, well, Brandon, you're just bad with bigger vehicles. Just trust me, if you have a tight parking spot and your vehicle's 20 feet long and 80 whatever inches wide, there's only so many turns you can take. So keep that in mind when you buy a giant pickup truck like this. It's not the easiest thing to park. It's not a deal breaker, but when you're going into a parking garage or you're maneuvering, or God forbid, you have to try to parallel park, it's not the easiest situation. So keep that in mind when you own a big truck like this. Obviously, you're not buying this to be easy to park, but it is sort of a downside about owning a truck like this. So let's get inside. Let's do a cold start. I actually haven't driven this thing in probably 2 weeks. So we're gonna jump in, a few more thoughts, a few bad things that I don't like about it, and let's get on the road. All right, yeah, like I said, 116, 700 miles. And of course, we've got the check the tire light, low pressure light. It's fine, I've literally checked them like 5 times. All right, so as I mentioned, there's a few things I don't like about this truck. One of them, the interior plastics, cheap, they don't look that great. Like, they're very basic, very hard. A few things are fine, like the metal around the like the navigation screen or whatever is clean. It looks nice, but it's nothing crazy. So, you know, one of the things, it's built on an F-150, which does have a nice interior, but it really is not going to wow you. Like, very hard plastics. That is one of the things about the new trucks, Gen 1 or Gen 2, they look way more modern. So obviously you're not buying this for ultimate luxury. It is nice in here, but it's not like, ooh, look at all these, you know, the leather or whatever. The leather is fine, you know, the two-tone is fine, but like I said, not really the nicest interior I've ever been in. But again, not really the reason you buy one of these trucks. All right, so we're on to something else that is really petty and stupid that I'm complaining about this, first world problems, but the cup holder pieces, these things that I literally just grabbed, come out so easily. So I have this cup here, and usually, especially if the cup's wet at all, like if it's sweating a little bit, you put it in and then you take the cup out and you go about your way. Of course it didn't happen this time, but 9 times out of 10, the cup takes the little cup holder insert with it, and sometimes I go inside and the stupid thing is connected to the cup and then walk back outside. So it's not a huge deal, and I hate to complain about that, but it's one of those things, you're living with a vehicle and it's kind of one of those weird quirky things. The other weird quirky thing that I really don't like, that I don't think anyone talks about, I mentioned this in a video, is the blinker. So the issue with the blinkers is that they go back to where they were, as opposed to if you push it down to turn left, it stays down. These blinkers go back into position, which means you don't know if you hit it long enough, or you don't know if the blinker's on. I mean, obviously you can see it, but it is kind of annoying, and there's really no value add. It's just different. And it definitely takes some getting used to. I've never fully gotten used to it, even a year later. So that's why it's worth mentioning. Again, not gonna sway you from buying the truck, so my complaints are pretty limited for the Gen 1 Raptor. So one of the other things that I don't like, which I know is very obvious, is the gas mileage. I'm averaging around 14. Not good. I mean, obviously this truck is giant and it's a 6.2 V8. So again, you know what you're getting into when you buy a truck like this, or really any truck. They're not really built for efficiency in that way. Not great. So you really have to be ready to pay the piper when you go get gas, because it has a 36-gallon tank, which is a plus, but man, it is a stinger every time filling this thing up. I love this truck. It's huge, it's fun, it looks cool even though it's like stock. I'd like to do a few things to it, like the exhaust and you know, a few other smaller things like that, nothing too serious. But man, I love having this thing around. I like seeing other Raptors. It's always exciting. And I love having something with like the utility. Like, I've never had a pickup truck before. I had a Grand Cherokee, and that was really my only SUV of any sort. So that had a lot of room, but nothing like this. Huge back seat. You can fit 3 people back there, and 2 more than comfortably with all the leg room. But yeah, this thing is awesome to have. Utility, it's fun, it looks cool. The red is a great color. I think this red is perfect on the truck, so that's a plus. But yeah, I don't have enough good things to say about this. I've been loving other Raptor videos and guys doing off-road stuff. I did off-road stuff with my Jeep, but I don't really plan on doing a ton with this truck, if you're wondering. I know that sounds kind of dumb, but this is my reliable daily that I like to have, I don't know, in a certain level of care. So I'm a little different than a lot of other Raptor owners, but the truth is, if you think about it, a lot of Raptors are only driven on pavement anyway. So for what that's worth, that's kind of my plan with it. And yeah, I freaking love having this thing. It's so cool, but it is huge. So just know that you're committing to a giant, a physically giant purchase. Not cheap either from a financial aspect, but physically huge and really fun though. So anyways, that's it. Links are below for more information. Details are below. I love sharing this truck, and I have a couple other things planned for it. I'd like to do more fluid flushes, like the diff. I believe the transmission fluid was already done. So I'll do a few more things, tire rotation, you know, stuff like that. So I'll be doing a handful of maintenance, and yeah, so a couple more mods, couple more maintenance, and I think that's it. So again, comment below, let me know what you think, any questions, and I will see you guys next time.